Okay, so this video is going to be a video to help every single player out there build better teams. I figured what we would do this time around is make a video regarding role fulfillment for characters so that you can actually decide what characters you want to invest into at Constellation 0 all the way up to Constellation 6 so that you can decide on what characters you think are best for your account and what you really need for each team composition. Let's jump into it. So, there are many types of roles in Genshin Impact, but we've tried to boil them down to about 9 total roles that characters fulfill in Genshin Impact. Now, each of these types of roles can be fulfilled by multiple characters, and we'll be going over them in this video. So the first type of role, which is most obvious for me, is going to be a shielder or damage reducer, somebody that's going to be coming in that's going to protect your team from damage. That's what a shielder and damage reducer does, really simple. Healers are very self-explanatory. They heal your team, give you health points, easy life. Normal and charge attack characters or main DPS characters are characters that are out in the field for a long time that rely on normal and charge attacks to deal damage. Sub DPS characters are characters that use elemental skills and elemental bursts to deal damage. And then we get into the more complicated stuff. Damage boosters. These are characters that boost any type of damage that you're going to deal. Critical chance, attack percentage, elemental mastery, elemental damage, physical damage, or any kind of all damage. And these are character abilities that are locked either behind constellations or behind at C0. So we'll be going over those as well. Shredders are another type of damage increase where you lower enemy resistances in order to boost your own damage. Now this can be done through elemental sets like Viridis and Venerer, or it can be done, of course, for character abilities. And we, of course, will take Viridis and Venerer into consideration when we're doing this video because it is the only shredding set in the game and is only, on one element. Then we have groupers, characters that can group enemies with their abilities. We excluded taunts from this because, Amber Bunny taunt is unreliable. Mona and Ganyu taunts are, again, unreliable on how they work with enemies, and not all enemies can be grouped by these types of mechanics. So, again, not really the best mechanic for grouping. Battery, this is the most subjective category we have, but it's not even that subjective. It's kind of slightly subjective. Essentially, it is the ability to give energy particles to your team so you can keep your elemental burst up at a higher rate, which is a very, very important category for late game content. Not so much early game, but you'll understand the importance as you get more closer to a lot closer to 8 or 55. And then the last thing is going to be cleansing, and this is the ability to remove elements from yourself so that you can actually do damage without having restrictions on you, like slowing waters or any kind of debuffs. These are like debuff removers, essentially. Okay, now all the roles that we're going to be doing today, again, are locked at Constellation 0, and if they're going to be locked behind constellations, we of course will notate them as they are locked behind constellations in this video. To decide if you have a good team in Genshin Impact, all you have to do is check every single one of these 9 boxes in your team composition. If you have all 9 of these boxes checked, most likely you got a good team. Most likely. That's how you build a good team in Genshin Impact. Fulfill all these 9 categories in your team composition, that's a good team. If you miss 1 or 2, maybe you don't need it for the content, maybe you do, who knows, but that's how you know you have a good team. So first off, we have the Pyro characters here. You can see Amber, not really good at any kind of role fulfillment. Very weak character overall. We got the Luke, kind of good, but again, really only just fills out the normal and charge attack character and is somewhat of a grouper with his ultimate ability, but really doesn't provide anything else. Amber, of course, does boost at C6, but it's pretty shit either way, and that's the most expensive constellation in the game. Next up, we have Benny Boy, who's insane. Benny Boy, of course, is a great healer, not a great damage reducer or at all. Not very good with normal charge attacks unless you get him to C6. I could have notated him at C6 here, but not really the best there. We also have sub DPS. He's great there. Damage boost, he's insane. One of the best damage boosts in the game, if not the best one. But he doesn't provide any kind of shredding mechanics. He doesn't provide any kind of grouping mechanics. He's a great battery, though, because his elemental skill is an extremely short cooldown, and you can swap to it very, very quickly if you're on team. And of course, you can cleanse with Ben's ultimate, which makes him one of the most valuable characters in the game. All right, next up we got Zhang Ling, who's not really a good at shielder, damage reducer, and her normal and charge attacks are kind of weak. Definitely one of the better polearm users, but not very, very good in general. She's really good as a sub DPS, one of the top sub DPS in the entire game. Definitely a damage booster with the global chilies, and at C6, of course, you can boost pyro damage. And she's a shredder at Constellation 1 to remove 15% pyro damage from your characters. And overall, she is a great battery character because the global will give you energy particles while you're off the field for whatever character's gonna be out, so it's a great battery overall, but she can't cleanse. Next up, we got Klee, who is a really good main DPS character and sub DPS character, not really good shielding. and a damage booster at T6. She is going to provide 15% Pyro damage at Constellation 6, but of course the most unattainable character to get at that point. And she is one of the best shredders in the game, if not the best shredder in the game, at Constellation 2, because she's able to lower defense by, I think, 23% or something like that at Constellation 2, which is way better than shredding any kind of resistances, so it's super powerful. She's also an insane battery character with her elemental skills on a really high cooldown, and a very, very good with her charge attacks, battering the entire team. So it's an insane battery, but of course not a cleanser. Next up, we have Jin Yang, who is a shielder and damage reducer. Pretty decent character there, but not really good at normal charge attacks. Not very good at sub DPS, but again, this is before we did everything here. I'll just put the Constellation 2 over to her. She's good at Constellation 2 as a sub DPS, but before that, she kind of sucks. She is a damage booster. She can boost physical damage and has more constellations to unlock more physical damage. She is a shredder at Constellation 4, I believe, for using physical resistances. And she's not really a good grouper or a good battery character, with her elemental skill being a really, really high cooldown. And she is a good cleanser, though. So the role fulfillment she has for cleansing is really, really valuable because it's such a rare role to fulfill. Next up, we have Hu Tao. Great shielder, self-healer kinda. On her ultimate, she is great at normal charge attack, great at sub DPS, great as a damage booster for giving yourself crit chance for your entire team. Great as she doesn't have any shredding potential or grouping potential, but she is a good battery character because of how her mechanics work and how many elemental particles she gets per rotation. So she's a very, very good self battery as well as team battery, and she's not really a cleanser though. We have Yanfei, who has a shield at Constellation 4, normal attacks at. That's it. That's all she does. Next characters. We got Mona for Hydro characters. She is not a good shielder or damage reducer, not a healer. She is a good normal charge attacker because she does have constellations that help that out, and she is good in general on that point. Her charge attacks are very strong, and her normal attacks are pretty decent, so she's decent at it, right? For sub DPS, she's strong. Damage boost is extremely strong, but she doesn't provide any shredding potential or grouping potential unless you technically count the Omen buff. So kind of Keck Lord there. Battery potential, I said no here. The reason I say no is because the only way you get battery on Mona is if the taunt actually pops on the enemy on the last tick, and that's extremely difficult to do, and she's not a good cleanser. Next up, we got Shinku, or Shincho, or Blue Hair Boy. Now, this dude is one of the best characters in the game, as you can see with the amount of yeses here. He, of course, is a really big damage reducer. He is a healer. He is not really good at normal charge attack, but he's an insane sub DPS. Not a very valuable character for a damage boost, but he does provide some shred for Hydro on Constellation 2. He doesn't have any grouping potential, but he is an insane battery character, providing 4 energy particles every time you use an elemental skill. And, of course, he is some self-cleanser-ish, kind of, sort of, maybe. Next, we have Barbara, who is not a shielder or damage reducer. She is a healer. She is not a good normal attack or charge attack or sub DPS. She is a damage booster at Constellation 2. She's not good at anything else besides a cleanser for Hydro. So if you have Pyro infused on yourself, she's a cleanse for that. Cryo infused yourself, you're totally fucked. But and then Electro doesn't do shit. Next up, we got Child. So Child kind of is just another main DPS character. He's good as a sub DPS. He is somewhat of a damage booster, kinda. Based on how you use him, kind of a damage booster with the talent-ish, but not really. And then he is kind of a battery, kind of a self-battery, but not really a battery in general. Next up, we got Chungyang. Chungyang is not a shielder or healer, but he is a good character for normal charge attack, even though he has the lowest ratio of claymores. He does have a mechanic at the end of his normal charge attack prediction, does a significant amount of damage and applies cryo to enemies, which is really helpful. So that is a good reason to use him as normal charge attack damage healer. For sub DPS, he's insane. For damage boosting, he does do attack speed and cooldown reduce, so he does help out there. He is a shredder on his talent, so he does reduce cryo resistance by 10%. And battery, he does provide a large amount of batteries on his elemental skills. So yeah, he's all of the above. He's an extremely good character. Then we got Kaya, who is a shielder at Constellation 4, which is an inexpensive spot, so you're never going to get that. He has normal charge attack. He's the best sword damage, normal percentage damage character in the game currently, besides Kazuha, I think, maybe? I gotta go check on that. He is an insane sub DPS, not really a good damage booster, shredder, or grouper, but he is, of course, a very good battery because the elemental skill is on a 6-second cooldown, preventing 3 particles. Chi-Chi, only a healer. You can technically say she's a normal charge attacker because that's the only way you can really heal with her, but she doesn't provide any other value to your kit at all, so she's kind of a pega. Then we got Diona, who is an extremely good character for shielding, healing, not a good normal attack or charge attack character, not a good sub DPS character, but also a very good damage booster. Constellation 6, provide 200 elemental mastery for your team. She's also a great battery character and a cleanser. Next up, we have Ganyu, who is not good at shielding or damage reducing, but is one of the best DPS characters in the game for normal charge attack, sub DPS. Also is a damage booster by boosting Cryo damage whenever your ultimate is up, so it is technically a damage boost for Cryo. Next up, she is a Shredder at Constellation 1 and is a good battery character because her elemental skill actually provides particles at both the initial part of her taunt and the ending part of her taunt, so it's a very good battery character in general. Next up, we have Eula, who is a good self-battery character, not a good healer. Of course, great main DPS, great sub-DPS character. Not a really good damage booster, but is a significantly good shredder for shredding cryo resistance as well as physical resistance, but not really good in any other way, shape, or form. Next up, we have Rosaria, who is one of the better characters in the game, who does not provide any type of shielding or damage reduction or healing, but does provide really good normal and charge attack values for her sweeping attack animations for using Crescent Pike, etc. So she can work there, and she's a physical damage dealer, so it's okay. Sub DPS wise, she's insane. Damage boosting wise, she can also increase your critical chance for your team. Shredding, she can also reduce resistance to physical by her Constellation 6. And battery, she's one of the best battery potentials in the game because she can actually get behind enemies and of course battery your team to get you a huge battery potential overall, much better than Kaya. So next up, we have Beidou, who is a great shielder, great damage reducer with both her constellations and her overall damage kit. She is good at normal and charge attacks because she does provide some value there, even though she's weaker than a lot of other characters, but she is good. She is a great sub DPS character, and she's a great shredder at Constellation 6 for loading 15% Electro resistance. And battery wise, she is really, really good at battery. It provides 4 energy particles on a 7-second cooldown if you hit your shots. But if you don't know. And then she's also a self-cleanse on her shield. So whenever you use an elemental skill on Beidou, if you're like confused with an element, you can actually use your elemental skill to remove whatever element you was on her. So she's really helpful for that way as well. Kaching, really good normal charge attacker, sub DPS character, and a decent battery character, but not really good at anything else. Facial, again, same thing, but she can self-heal. It's a little bit better than Kaching as far as role fulfillment goes, but obviously a worse character. Well, asterisk on that too. For sub DPS. And then we got Razor, who is technically a good shielder and damage reducer because his ultimate does provide some self value there. His normal charge attacks are insane, and of course sub DPS is very good technically because his elemental skill, elemental versus elemental skill is actually a very strong combination to use every so often. So it does provide some value if you build Electro Razor, so you could do that. He is a shredder at Constellation 4, and battery wise, he is a good battery because of the elemental skill, elemental versus elemental skill that you can provide to your entire team. So that does provide a decent amount of particles for your team. So I guess that is a way to go. But no one does that. Okay. Lisa, really only good as a sub DPS and a shredder, not really good at anything else in the game, unfortunately, but she is really good as a shredder because she does reduce defense of enemies, so that's very helpful. And she is all the Electro characters can provide Superconduct for shred, but I did not include Superconduct for any of the Electro characters here because Fizz Shred is trash, but I mean, technically they're all shredders-ish. Same with Cryo-ish, but I didn't include that. That takes 2 characters. Anyways, next up we got Ningguang, who is a shielder and damage reducer for the Jade Screen, and of course provides Crystallize to help you with shielding. She's really good at normal charge attack, but I didn't include it in sub DPS. The main reason being is because whenever you use an elemental skill, elemental burst combination, you typically will use a charge attack following that because you'll max out your Jades. So I mean, C0 for C1, I mean, technically you could do this, but it's not really a good sub DPS potential unless you have like C2 and above. So I really left this out of sub DPS because technically it's more of a main, not a sub. So you could argue with me on this one, but I say no. And you can, if you play the character, you kind of understand why that is. As a damage booster, she is a Geo damage booster. Of course, she boosts whenever you're the Jade Screen. And then battery, she's a great battery for Geo characters as well. Noelle is very good at the first 3 categories for normal charge attacks. She's a good healer and shielder, but not really good at any other ability here. Then we got Traveler, who's a good shielder, of course, providing a giant rock ring around yourself for that type of shielding, if you want to call that a shield. And you can also provide Crystallized reactions, which is also good. He's also a good sub DPS and a good damage booster for getting crit chance and a good battery character. We got Zhongli, of course, one of the best characters in the entire game, who is objectively the best character in Genshin Impact. And he, of course, is a great shielder, a healer at Constellation 6, technically, and of course a sub DPS. character, insane. Not really good main DPS. He's going to be a good shredding character for everybody in the game, one of the best shredders in the game, and he is a great battery character with his totem as long as it hits. Okay, I didn't, as far as a damage booster goes, I left him out of the damage boost category for Tenacity of the Millith, because I didn't want to include Tenacity of the Millith as part of his damage boosting category because it's more the artifact set to do that, but I am using it in other categories. So technically you'd be a damage booster, but that you can say that for every character for Noblesse set, or you can say that for every character for all the sets in the game, versus Viridescent set on Anemo, which we'll be going into in a second, which will be unique to Anemo. So every character can use Noblesse and every character can use Millith, technically. Then up, we got Alfredo, who is going to be a good shielder with Crystallize because he can provide lots of Crystallized reactions. He's a good sub DPS character and a good damage booster because he does provide Elemental Mastery bonus. And of course, he is a battery character, which is very, very helpful. For other characters in the team, this is where you want to be for your characters. Okay, next up we have Anemo Traveler, who is technically a self-healer on his hold E. He is a sub DPS character that's really, really good. He is going to provide shred mechanics on his Constellation 6 as well as Viridescent Venerer, so he's really good for that. He is also a grouping character, very good for grouping. Not the best character in the grouping, but it's definitely very good. And of course for battery, he is an exceptional battery. Next up we have Venti, who is great as a sub DPS. He is a damage booster at Constellation 4 and up, but he is also a shredder at Constellation 2, Constellation 6, and innately just because of the Viridescent Venerer. He's one of the best grouping characters in the game, if not the best grouping character in the game, and he's an insane battery character. For Sucrose, even better actually. So what I was really surprised to find is that if we're comparing the two characters as far as role fulfillment, Sucrose is technically better than Venti as far as role fulfillment goes, and she is actually better on normal and charge attacks than Venti because she can actually provide normal and charge attacks to your team with an Elemental Mastery build and still do about 6,000 damage every time she does one, and shred off elements whenever you need to, and actually knock enemies back and reposition them with normal and charge attacks. So it's very, very helpful to use at times Sucrose as a normal charge attacker. Really weird. And I've done that many times. And chat is adding me for Kazuha. I'll add Kazuha in a second. Cheese chat. But she's an insane damage booster at both Constellation 0 and Constellation 6. She's a great shredding character. She's a great grouper and a great battle character. So technically, overall, the characters in the game, she is one of the best, but the best character in the game by just looking at it. Technically, the best character for role fulfillment in the game is Jean, because she is the jack of all trades and she does everything. She literally does everything. So technically, Jean is the best character in the game objectively. All right. And she is a shielder or damage booster Constellation 6. Because on a Constellation, she reduces incoming damage by 35%. She is a perfect healer. She's great at normal and charge attacks, even though I don't like that build. It's trash, but whatever. She is a great sub DPS character because her Elemental Skill Elemental Burst combination does insane amounts of damage if you build into it. And the ratios on it are almost as high as Zhongli's. If you look into it, it's really high. Go look into it. It's great. But of course, you don't have the HP percentage on top of that. You just have Animal Shred. So you technically get higher damage because you can react with Swirl. Potentially, maybe, sort of, kind of. All right, and then she is a damage booster for your team at Constellation 4. She is a shredder because she's Anemo, and of course she can do more shredding at Constellation 4 as well. Sorry, I did the wrong one. C2. I meant C2, not C4. My bad. My bad. C2. My bad. Attack speed and attack speed. Yeah, I forgot. C2. There you go. I fixed it. Even when it's wrong, it's right. Then we got a grouping mechanic. She's really good, but like only if you want to kill Timmy's birds. And of course, she is a great battery character and the best cleanser in the game. Next up, we got Zhao, who is not really a shielder or damage booster, but he is a damage booster at Constellation 4 for increased defense. He is great for normal charge attack. Trash at sub DPS because, you know, unless you're elemental skill spamming and his burst does no damage, so not really. Is he a shredder? But technically, you could go for P's Viridescent Zhao. I've done it. It's not bad. It's okay. You can do it like with. You could do it technically. I mean, he's technically a shredder. He's not really a grouper. He is a good battery character though, because the amount of elemental skills you can do in a quick succession. And cleanse, not so much. All right, last on the list, we got Kazuha. Really a damage reducer, not really a healer. He is good at normal charge attack, but again, this is luck behind Constellation 6. Sub DPS, yes, he's insane. Damage booster, yes, he's insane. Shredder, yes, he is insane. Grouper, yes, he is insane. Battery, yes, he is insane. And cleansing, unfortunately not. So as far as characters go, if we're looking at between Venti and Kazuha, technically Kazuha's better by this much. So chat also says as well that he self cleanses. I don't know. You test it. Fuck it. Insert character here is a team. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that Gene insert character here is a team? All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. My name's Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful for you so you can understand how you can build better teams, so you can build better your account. Let me know if you have any questions about this video. I'm always live on Twitch, so you can always get more information, and you can meme on me with these nice little things up here that Twitch is about to spam you with in about 5 seconds after I've mentioned it, because they just love doing that over and over and over and over and over again. Imagine listening to this all day.
Nope. Hi, Jake. Hey, Sika. Hey, Sika. Hey, Sika. Hi, Jake. Hey, Sika. Hi, Jake. Got him.
Yeah, that's what I have to deal with. Have a great day, guys.